After unboxing the Elven Archer and dealing with those tricky ankles, I thought I knew what I was going to be getting with Asmus. But Thorin Oakenshield? This one's quite a nice surprise. The figure I'm about to show you has rooted hair, metal weapons, and relatively high detail. That kind of caught me off guard. Yes, this is the Asmus Toys HOB T06 Thorin Oakenshield from the Hobbit trilogy. Now, is this one worth going into your collection? Let's find out, shall we? Now, the first thing I want to start with is the box itself. I mean, it's a very collector-friendly shoebox style. Asmus does this a lot with their Lord of the Rings or Hobbit figures. I quite like the movie graphics and some of the little sigils on it. And of course, you have Thorin's face on the front, which, like I say, I'm not a mega fan when it comes to just character on the front. But shows you what you're getting. That's just about what you can ask for, really, isn't it? It's nothing revolutionary, but it does function the way it should. It's a lot easier to handle than some of the oversized boxes that you do get. Slim fit, display worthy, probably not. So, that now brings us to the body and the head sculpt itself. Now, when it comes to Asmus Toys, I think their strong point a lot of the time is when it comes to the costume details. And they haven't disappointed this time either. I think the outfit itself has got exceptional craftsmanship. I think the dark blue vest, the undergarments, the dwarven armour, all of it just blends in very well together. But I think the real selling point is the fur coat. I mean, it doesn't really feel like a cheap fleece. You know, it does have weight and it does have texture. And I think the fur really does bring out his presence and it does make him feel like royalty. The only issue I have with that fur coat is on the outside, it's a bit leathery. And I noticed anytime I'd move it, you get tiny little flakes that would come off. Nothing noticeable, but I think that's only for now. I don't know if over time, the more you move it, the more it's going to just crumble off. But under the coat, you do have the long trousers, got a bit of a stitch pattern going on, and it does make him feel like a real dwarf. The boots, I think, are one of the best parts here. I mean, they are a two-part design with enhanced ankle joints, but they are sculpted very well. And I think the colour palette they've chosen here to blend everything together looks exceptional. Now, the coat is removable. If you don't want to make it flake and you just want to store it, that is perfectly doable. But it is going to be a bit of a hassle trying to get his arms out of there. The hair he actually has, where it is just basically 3 strands and not plastic hair, it doesn't have a problem when he is wearing the coat. So his head can move freely with or without it. So that's not an issue. So that does actually bring me to the head sculpt itself. Now, I think the likeness is genuinely impressive from certain angles, and that's like my main caveat with this. You can sort of look at him from the side, and you think, yep, that's Thorin. And sometimes head on, I think, it's a little bit off. And I don't know what's happened here, if the face is just a little bit too wide, that there's something I can't quite put my finger on as to why he looks good from like the side, but not the front. If you have any theories, just let me know down below. But you'll see what I mean as he's rotating round. Because, you know, they've obviously captured the sharp chin, the long nose, and the serious squinted expression that defines Thorin. I mean, I think the paintwork looks great as well. It's got a realistic skin tone, you know, very nice and subtle freckling. But I think the main selling point of this is the hair. Now, Asmus with a lot of their figures do go for rooted hair, and I think they do an exceptional job. And I think they're one of the best companies to actually do rooted hair. Like Hot Toys sticks to a lot of plastic sometimes, and you know, it can take away from a figure. But yeah, when they get rooted hair right, it can look exceptional. But yeah, it gives them a slick back look. You can customize the hair however you want, but the way they send it to you is the way it is intended. Quite frankly, I think they could get this figure to do shampoo commercials. It does look good.
Dove Intense Repair, जो damage repair पहले wash से शुरू करें. Dove Intense Repair.
So I think compared to like Hot Toys or something like that, having this along with the big fur coat, if Hot Toys did this, I think it would be a pain trying to move, because I know what they'd do. They'd go for the plastic hair and then like a bit of a thicker coat, and it just would not move. But no, the articulation in the head is great. And I think that was definitely a conscious decision. I don't think they just went, right, rooted hair, coat, oh, it works. You know, they've definitely thought this through quite well. I mean, I know a lot of the time the plastic hair is the standard, but I think rooted hair is starting to become a lot more popular. You see, in art, they use a lot of rooted hair. Asmus, they've been doing it since the dawn of time. And look, I'm here for it. And with Hot Toys' latest releases, I wouldn't be surprised if we see in-art become the new standard, because it is becoming increasingly popular. They sell out every single time that they put anything on the market, almost instantly. I've managed to pick up an in-art Snape, but that was very difficult to get hold of. But anyway, I'm rambling. So the next thing I actually do want to get into is the accessories, which, to be honest, I think you get a decent amount. You know, he doesn't actually carry too much in the film, and I think you basically get what you'd normally see in the film. The only thing that's disappointing is that you don't get a crown. He does actually have articulation in the head that can make him tilt his head, where he looks a little bit deranged. So having the crown and being able to do that would have been a fantastic look. Anyway, enough of what you don't get. Here's what you do get. 6 interchangeable hands, 1 pair of relaxed, 1 pair of weapon holding, and 1 pair of fist posture. And then, of course, the weapons. It's basically like a whole arsenal. You get the 1 dwarf sword, which I believe can also be called Deathless, which is a small, simple blade. Then obviously you get the Goblin Cleaver, and this is made of metal, so I did want to get a close-up of this one in particular. It's a beautifully sculpted blade, and it is very faithful to the film, and it really does give off the elvish charm. And then, of course, you get the Oak Shield, which the most iconic part of this, of course, as his name is, Thorin Oakenshield. Yeah, that is attachable and detachable, so there's no issues there if you do want to put it on or take it off. And then, of course, you just get the figure stand, which, again, pretty standard. You don't need it. He does actually stand on his own, so unlike some of the other Asmus figures, which struggle, this might be the first one that actually stands on his own, and it might be because of the big feet. The only ones I never have an issue with are the Hobbits and the Dwarves. So again, I'll be interested to see if any of the Asmus new releases will actually be able to withstand their own weight when they're a bit taller. Now that does bring us to articulation and posing. Now, when it comes to that, Asmus says this has 32 points of articulation, which is quite impressive. Just like some of the other figures, the costume can play a big part. I believe when you take the coat off, you'll have a lot more freedom, but with the coat on, I think that's where it's going to struggle. I mean, as you can see by a lot of the stop motion animation that are created, there is a wide range and probably enough for you to feel confident that you can get him in a position that you'd want to pose him in. The head has a fantastic amount of articulation. It's the most I've seen. You rarely get head pieces that can turn this way, which I thought was a cool detail. And I think that was definitely intentional so you can recreate his crazy look in the films. There's no issues with him reaching down to grab a sword and pull it out as well. So the arms have great movement too. There have been some figures that cannot even reach their own belt. So again, I think this is great when it comes to articulation. I mean, if you want to be picky, which is basically what my job is, I have to be devil's advocate. I would say the coat might be a bit restrictive, but again, I didn't have any issues with anything I wanted to do. But just keep that in mind if you are thinking of making a purchase. Now, I think the only issue you'd have is trying to get him to sit down. I don't know many people that would want their Thorin to be sitting, but again, if that's something you want, that might be the issue, because there's so much padding, like with the belt layers and everything like that. That's where he's going to struggle to move his torso. So now we're going to do the height comparison and see where Thorin stands compared to other figures. Well, when I say figures, I mean the one and only Gandalf the Grey. This is the Hobbit version of Gandalf, as in not Gandalf being a Hobbit, but he was in the Hobbit movies. And compared to the films, he does stand at about the height that you'd imagine. So again, he does tower over Thorin, but that is what you expect. So quite frankly, I think they did a fantastic job when it came to scaling. So let's just go through the pros and cons and get this over with, shall we? I think the pros, rooted hair, I think is a fantastic detail. I think Asmus has always done a really good job when it comes to that. I think the accessory count, it's good for what you get. You know, there is like a little pipe as well, which, to be honest, I didn't really see him use that in the film. So I would have preferred the crown, but you do get a good amount, and I think the sword was crafted to perfection. I think the paint job on the face was fantastic. A lot of the details in the dwarven armour looks great too. And I do quite like how stable he is to stand on his own. Now, I think the only cons I have is slightly with the face. Again, other people don't really seem to see what I see with it, but it's when you see it from a certain angle, it really takes you out of it. Side profile, I think, is great. Head on. Again, there's something I can't quite put my finger on that looks a bit off. The only other con would be the accessories that are missing. You get a good amount, but there are some crucial parts that I wish you did get. So it'd be cool to see him with an axe, or it'd be cool just to see him with the crown, like I said. Or even like the Arkenstone. That'd be cool. That'd be a nice accessory just to be able to have. But again, that is nitpicky. So when it comes to my final rating, what would I rate it out of 10? It's based on the price, and from the ones I've seen on eBay, at the moment, the cheapest on the market is £260. Would I say it's worth that? No. If I wanted to pay, I'd probably be looking between £200, £230. So based on the current price and what you get, I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. A 5 would be the minimum standard, so 7.5. It's still pretty good. I'm definitely going to be keeping it in my collection, and I do have 2 of these, so 1 is for sale. So if you are interested, feel free to check out my eBay below. But anyways, guys, if you like the video, make sure you leave a like and leave a comment down below about what you like about Thorin. And if you already own one, please feel free to share what you think about yours, or if I missed anything. Yes, anyways, once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.